Good afternoon and welcome everyone to ABG Sundal Collier's Introduce Investor Days. My name is Jesper Birch Jensen and I work as an equity research analyst here at ABG. And with us today we have the CEO of Invisio, Lars Höjgård Hansen, who's going to tell us a little bit about the company and their plans for the future. So with that said, please go ahead, Lars.
Thank you very much and welcome to Invisio. For those of you that might not know us, we are the global leader within advanced hearing protection and communications equipment for people that work in very noisy environments. We are headquartered in Copenhagen, but listed on stock exchange in Stockholm, Nasdaq Midcap. As I said, we are focusing on people that work in very noisy environments. Our customers are found within military and defense professions. We have recently also started focusing more diligently on law enforcement and police, first responders, sometimes firefighting, and in also a few cases into heavy industry. So we try to protect people's hearing and we try to help them make sure they can effectively in high noise environments. And if we move to the next slide, please. We have concluded our third financial quarter this year, and the headline for the quarter was strong order intake and continued investments internally in our organization. Now, we are in an industry where order intake and also revenue can fluctuate between quarters and even between years, because many of our projects are publicly funded through government agencies and so forth. So therefore we do see fluctuations in order intake and revenue. But this quarter was quite strong, actually the second strongest in the history of the company. So let's look at the financial. Next slide, please. In the third quarter, we increased our revenue with about 9%, 14% if we include currency fluctuations. And for the first 9 months of the year, we are up about 15% in revenue towards last year. Our gross margin also fluctuates between quarters and years. We have a combination of own developed products, but we also sometimes sell partner products. The majority of what we sell is directly to customers, and when we sell our own developed products, which is also more than 90%, then our gross margins are normally between 60 and 65%. But we are in growing numbers also acting as a system integrator, where our customers expect us to be able to deliver anything they want that fits into the communication system we are delivering. So therefore we are obliged to also sometimes supply them with other third-party products that we do not have as high a gross margin on. So therefore we see these fluctuations and a little lower gross margin as we saw in this quarter. And also when we are in certain countries selling through distribution partners, the gross margin is also lower than when we sell direct. But in general, as I said, our aim is to try to get up towards 60 to 65% on a longer scale. And our operating profit for the quarter and for the first 9 months is a little lower than last year, even though our revenue is higher. And the reason for that is that we have decided for substantial investments internally in the company, both in R&D, but also in terms of expansion of our sales reach. We have hired more salespeople during the year. And we've done it in 2 areas. One, to accelerate the introduction of a new product category for communication in vehicle that we call Invisio Portable Intercom. And 2, to also hopefully accelerate the sales development of our sales to police, law enforcement, and first responders. So we have added a number of salespeople, especially in the US, to address the law enforcement market, and we believe that this is something that will pay off over the coming years. We have so far not been very hard hit by the pandemic. However, we do see that especially larger programs and new larger activities are being postponed and pushed into 21, and sometimes with an unknown starting point. So it is a little more uncertain, but it is often like that in our industry, that we don't know exactly when orders will arrive or when new projects will be started. Luckily, we have now a much broader customer base compared to a few years ago. We are, as I said, selling both to military customers, to law enforcement. We have expanded to more geographies, not only US and Europe, but also now seeing interesting orders emerging from parts of Asia. So, and we have also a much broader product portfolio than we had just a few years ago. So we see a good mix of orders from types of customers, geographies, products, and so forth. And this is why we were able to reach a second best quarter in terms of order intake of 212 million during the quarter. Some of it was also related to end of year activities in the US, where they close the financial year in September and sometimes spend the remaining money in September. So next slide, please. The only larger order that we received during the quarter was from the US Department of Defense, an order worth 44 million. And this is an order related to a frame order agreement that we received back in 2019, and where the customer is a repeat customer and coming back now and ordering more products. And even with this size of order, sometimes it is a little larger, sometimes a little less, depending on how many units, how many users they plan to outfit over a given period of time. And our equipment is most of the time linked also to existing or new radio communications equipment in terms of, we call it radio, but some people call it walkie-talkies, that the customers are buying for their users. So when they get these new radios, then they also need our type of equipment. So the order sizes are sometimes linked to new radio equipment that the customer has been ordering. So this is the single large order that we announced during the quarter, and the rest of the order intake was, as I said, smaller orders. Next slide, please. Now, intercom is a new product category for us that we introduced to the market in the beginning of 2020, just before the pandemic broke out. And despite that, we have been able to get out with some of our key existing customers and demonstrated, and also been able to get a number of smaller first orders. We received several orders in the third quarter and also in the second quarter. So I think that we are above 10 orders now for the intercom with some existing users. One of them was a group in the US that we have been supplying our hearing protection systems to previously, called the 2nd Security Force Assistance Brigade. And it is always good when we get this type of customer in the early phases of an introduction, as they will act as a reference for many other customers. For those of you that are not familiar with our intercom solution, I'll just briefly say that this is a small portable unit, the size of an iPad, that you can carry in a rucksack. And the idea is that a group of users can set it up within minutes from the rucksack when they are in a small jeep, in a rib boat, in a helicopter like this. They have the ability to put up this intercom system within minutes, and they are able then to communicate between them, but also communicate to the helicopter's pilots or the drivers of the vehicle. So it makes their communication much more efficient. And this is a new capability in the portable form that we have that is that they haven't had before. So we have great expectations to this type of product over the coming years. Next, please. Now, another new introduction of a product that we did in the third quarter was a headset called Invisio T7, and it is what we call an over-the-ear headset. Since our beginning, Invisio has been the market leader and the innovator in small in-ear solutions that is then connected to what we call a control unit on the user's chest and then with cables to his communication radios. But we've also seen that many users actually would like to have both an in-ear and an over-the-ear. They have both advantages and disadvantages, and actually for some users they would like to have both. But also for others there is a personal preference, just like in your private life, between having an in-ear or having an over-ear. So we decided to introduce our own over-ear headset. It has some very innovative features that are first to market. First of all, it sets a new standard for submersibility. You can jump out of an aircraft at 10 kilometers height in a parachute and go directly into water and go 10 meters underwater, and the headset will work and function all the way. It has a patented drainage system, so the minute you get out of the water, the headset is fully functional and you can use it and talk and still being hearing protected. It is very flexible. You can change wearing style from over your head, behind your neck, on a helmet within just minutes without use of tools. And it also has a very high hearing protection level, partly due to some new patented so-called 3D cushions that we are using. Now, the cushions on the side of your head are normally flat and straight, but we have invented a new form which is 3D shapes and that better follows the form of your face and therefore gives you more comfort and also a better hearing protection. So we believe that this first product that is relevant for both military and law enforcement users will also develop into a full product category for Invisio, so over time. And we have, of course, great expectations to this type of headset and that it will continue to contribute to our growth over the next many years. Next, please. In addition to our own developed products, we also sometimes, as I said, work with other suppliers because there is a market demand, and our key customers, when we have a long-term contract or an agreement with a customer, they also expect of us that we are able to provide them with different niche products that can be part of the system. And one example of that is a small company in Denmark called Inga that has made a very light and innovative small audio tube, which is primarily used by safety and security users, for surveillance, or for just being able to listen to a communication when you have to be very discreet. And we have signed an agreement with them to be able to sell and market their little audio tube into our customers, into our existing contract. So this is a nice little addition to our portfolio, but we do not expect this to have a huge impact on revenue. But again, it's a nice way of showing that we are a one-stop shop for most of our customers, and we also offer them things that we do not necessarily develop ourselves. And the next slide, please. So I think that takes us to the end of the presentation. We have, since 6-7 years, been executing on a simple strategy that is focused on gaining market share in North America and in Western Europe, but also expanding gradually to new geographies like in Asia and the Middle East. And we are following that through diligently. Another part of the strategy is to continue to develop new products, not only new versions of existing products, but also go into new product areas, as we have done now with the intercom system, but also with the Invisio T7 over-the-ear headset. And last but not least, we have an important part of our strategy being cost control, but also working very efficiently. As I said, our order intake and revenue can fluctuate quite a lot between quarters, and therefore we have since many years perfected our way of operations. We work with a handful of large professional outside manufacturing companies that gives us the necessary volumes and flexibilities that we need for running our business in an efficient way. So we are on a good track. We are seeing good opportunities for growth, and we believe that with the many products we have, with the continued distribution development and organizational development, we should have good conditions to continue to grow our company over the next many years. So that concludes my small introduction to Invisio and the update on our third quarter. So I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Lars. Just starting out, you mentioned that Invisio has been relatively spared when it comes to COVID-19 impact in terms of sales and overall. But you also mentioned that during Q3, some customers or larger projects has been delayed. Have you seen that continuing into the months after Q3, and what's your customer feedback there?
Yes, I would say that we are fortunate that we have a number of large programs and contracts. So there, our existing customers will just continue to buy and spend the money that is allocated to those contracts. But when it comes to starting new projects and new activities, it's a little harder for in many countries, because it normally requires that you need to get people gathered physically in a location, and this is also one example. For instance, the order we got from the US for 44 million, it could have been larger, but it's also the fact that you need to get people into certain locations for training and education and distribution of the equipment when we deliver. So there are limitations globally right now to how many people can be gathered and how you can run things. So I think that, yes, we will see some delays in certain programs and activities. They will not go away, because all of the modernization that is ongoing within both military but also law enforcement and so on, it is a long-term thing. They are upgrading their radio communications. They do have a high focus on trying to reduce the number of hearing damages that they see and the costs associated with hearing loss and so forth. So the long-term trends are still there, but there will be some ups and downs in the curve sometimes, and this is probably what we see a little bit now in some delays. But again, we are fortunate as the market leader that we have a lot of customers that still provides us with continuous orders.
Okay, and just on the same subject there, do you see these types of delays equally throughout your segments, or is it mainly in the legacy military segment, or is it?
No, it's a little bit everywhere, and I think again it is difficult to go and visit customers, as you know. It's hard to travel, and trade shows are cancelled and so forth, and if there's not an urgent requirement, then projects can be delayed a quarter or two, and we've seen that many times before for other reasons. So we are not. It's not unusual for us. We've always said that it's very hard for us to estimate exactly when a new program or an order will appear. We've seen many delays for many reasons over the years. That's just part of our business. So it goes up and down. But when we look at the longer term trend and we look at the 12 months average rolling development, it still looks really good.
Gotcha, thank you. And just continuing on with intercom, like you mentioned, you received approximately 10 smaller orders throughout the year. The last one here being for the 2nd Security Force Assistant Brigade of the US Army. And I was just wondering, how do you view demand from similar clients, and how many early movers are out there testing intercom as of currently?
Yeah, there are quite a few, and I think the interesting part for us, of course, is that this is a product that is very easy to understand. everyone that uses our equipment already easily understand what the intercom solution can do for them, and we have no problem with handing out samples for test and so forth. But there's always also a learning curve in the beginning, both for the customers but also for us in terms of how to demonstrate, how to run tests, and also there's quite a number of cables that needs to be delivered with each system as they will be connecting 5 to 6 users and a number of radios to each unit. So there's some logistical setup, and each customer also need to decide exactly how they want the system to be set up. So the selling process is a little longer than it is for our traditional products. But we are very pleased with the development so far, because we also know that every customer we get to, the first orders we get, is a very good learning for approaching the next layer of customers. So we are pleased with the development so far.
And despite the difficulties, meeting your clients and marketing and such due to COVID-19, do you still expect to see larger orders during the next year in terms of intercom? Or is that...
Yes, I definitely hope so. In 2021, we should be seeing, I think, some of the customers that have been buying the first pilot orders now, they will hopefully be able to get funding and be able to buy more units, and we will continue to roll out within our existing customer base, so that more and more new customers will also start testing. So I think that we are, of course, in the middle of the fog right now with the pandemic, but once we get into 2021, it will hopefully soon be a little easier in many aspects, and things will improve quite dramatically.
Okay, that was all questions for me. Thank you, Lars, for coming and telling us about your third quarter and also your plans for the future.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.